Have you ever spent years studying English, but still felt nervous when someone spoke too fast? Maybe you know grammar. Maybe you know vocabulary. But real English conversations still feel stressful. Here is the truth many learners never hear. The problem is not always your English level. Sometimes the problem is speed. Welcome back our channel. Today we are talking about the secret power of slow English listening and why slowing down may be the key to finally understanding English naturally. Take a deep breath, relax, and listen carefully. This is not a test. This is your time to grow calmly. One sentence at a time. Part 1. Why slow listening works better. Many learners believe they must listen to fast English to improve quickly. So they watch difficult movies, fast podcasts, or complicated interviews. But instead of improving, they become frustrated. Their brain feels tired. Their confidence becomes weaker. And slowly, they begin thinking, maybe I'm not good at English. But that belief is often wrong. The human brain learns language step by step, not all at once. Think about a child learning music. A piano teacher does not force the child to play fast on the first day. The child begins slowly, learning one note at a time. Language works the same way. Slow listening gives your brain time to process sounds, sentence patterns, and pronunciation naturally. Instead of hearing noise, you begin hearing meaning. This is important because English is not only vocabulary. English also has rhythm, emotion, and connected sounds. Native speakers often combine words together. Want to becomes wanna. Going to becomes gonna. Fast English feels difficult because the sounds change during real conversation. But when you listen slowly, your ears begin recognizing these patterns little by little, and over time, your listening becomes more natural. Another reason slow listening works is emotional comfort. Many learners feel anxious while listening to English. They panic when they miss a word. Then they lose focus and miss the next sentence too. But slow listening reduces stress. It teaches your brain to stay calm while listening. And calm learners often learn faster than stressed learners, because when the brain feels relaxed, memory and focus become stronger. This is why repetition matters too. Listening once is usually not enough. But when you hear the same slow English several times, your brain starts building familiarity. Common phrases become easier. Sentence patterns feel natural. Confidence slowly grows. At first, progress feels invisible. But one day, something surprising happens. You suddenly understand a full sentence without translating it. That moment changes everything. Because for the first time, English feels real instead of academic. And this is the secret many successful learners discover. Fluency does not come from pressure. It comes from patient exposure over time. Slow listening is not a weakness. It is training for real understanding. And sometimes, slowing down is exactly what helps you move forward faster. Part 2. The myth of perfect English. One of the biggest problems in language learning is perfectionism. Many learners believe they must speak perfect English before feeling confident, so they become afraid of mistakes. They worry about grammar. They worry about pronunciation. They worry about sounding different from native speakers. And because of this fear, many people stop practicing naturally. But here is an important truth. Communication matters more than perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes. People pause, repeat words, and forget sentences during normal conversation. Real English is not perfect. It is human. Slow English listening helps learners understand this naturally. When you listen to calm, clear English, you stop focusing on every small mistake. Instead, you focus on meaning. This changes the way your brain experiences the language. You become less afraid. And fear is one of the biggest obstacles in listening. When learners feel nervous, their mind becomes too busy thinking, "What if I don't understand? What if I answer incorrectly? What if people judge me?" These thoughts create pressure, and pressure blocks focus. But slow listening creates a safer learning environment. It gives your brain time to breathe. Over time, English stops feeling like an enemy. It starts feeling familiar. This emotional change is powerful because confidence grows through repeated positive experiences. Little by little, you realize, "I understand more than before. I can follow this story. I don't need to translate every word." These small victories build real confidence. And confidence leads to consistency. Many learners quit because they expect fast results. But language learning is not a race. It is a long process of repetition and exposure. Some days feel easy. Some days feel frustrating. That is normal. The important thing is continuing calmly. Slow listening helps people continue because it reduces emotional exhaustion. Instead of fighting English every day, you begin enjoying the process. You notice the rhythm of the language, the emotion in the voice, the meaning behind simple phrases. And this enjoyment matters, because people improve faster when learning feels meaningful instead of stressful. There is another important lesson here too. You do not need a perfect accent to communicate successfully. English is spoken all around the world with many different accents. Clear communication matters more than sounding exactly like a movie actor. Your accent is not failure. It is part of your story. The real goal is connection. To understand others. To express your thoughts. To communicate confidently. And slow listening helps build that confidence naturally. Not overnight, but steadily. One sentence at a time. Part 3. Why repetition changes the brain. Many people want exciting study methods, new apps, new courses, new shortcuts. But one of the most powerful learning tools is actually very simple. Repetition. Most learners listen to something once and immediately move to new content. But the brain learns language through repeated exposure. The first time you listen, your brain hears unfamiliar sounds. The second time, some words become clearer. The third time, sentence patterns begin feeling familiar. This is how listening skills slowly develops. At first, repetition may feel boring. But boredom does not always mean learning has stopped. Sometimes it means the brain is building deeper understanding. Think about music. After hearing a song many times, you naturally remember the rhythm and lyrics. Language works in a similar way. When you repeatedly hear common English phrases, your brain begins recognizing them automatically. How are you doing? That makes sense. I'm not sure. At first, these phrases require effort. Later, you understand them instantly. This is one of the biggest changes in fluency, moving from translation to recognition. And this process takes time. That is why slow listening is powerful. It allows the brain to absorb English naturally without panic. There is another reason repetition matters. It improves pronunciation. When learners hear the same sounds many times, their mouth slowly copies the rhythm unconsciously. This is why children repeat songs and stories again and again. Repetition creates natural speaking patterns. Unfortunately, modern life trains people to avoid repetition. Everything today is fast. Fast videos, fast scrolling, fast entertainment. As a result, many learners lose patience quickly. If progress feels slow, they think something is wrong. But real growth is often quiet. Sometimes your English improves long before you notice it yourself. One day, you suddenly understand part of a conversation naturally. Not because of one magical lesson, but because your brain has heard similar patterns hundreds of times before. This is how fluency grows. Slowly, calmly, repeatedly. And repetition also builds emotional comfort. The more familiar English becomes, the less fear you feel while listening. Your brain stops treating English like danger. It begins treating English like something normal. That emotional comfort is important because relaxed learners often improve faster. They stay consistent longer, and consistency is more important than intensity. Studying calmly for 20 minutes every day is often more powerful than studying 4 stressful hours once a week. Because language learning depends on long-term exposure, not short bursts of pressure. So if repetition sometimes feels slow or boring, do not quit too quickly. Your brain may be building something valuable underneath the surface. Like roots growing quietly before a tree becomes visible. And one day, the results appear naturally. You understand more. You feel calmer. You respond faster. Not because you forced yourself harder, but because you gave your brain enough time to truly learn. Part 4. The quiet confidence. Slow listening creates. Many English learners are not only struggling with language, they are struggling with fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of sounding foolish in front of others. Sometimes, this fear becomes so strong that people avoid speaking completely. But slow English listening can slowly change that feeling. Not instantly, but naturally. When you listen to calm and understandable English every day, your brain begins connecting English with comfort instead of stress. This emotional change is very important. Because confidence is not built by forcing yourself to be brave. Confidence grows through small, successful experiences repeated over time. For example, maybe one day you understand an entire short story clearly. The next week, you understand a conversation on YouTube. Then later, you notice yourself thinking small thoughts in English naturally. These moments may seem small, but together, they slowly rebuild self-belief. And self-belief changes everything. When learners believe improvement is possible, they practice more consistently. They stop judging themselves so harshly. They become more patient during difficult moments. Slow listening teaches this patience. It reminds learners that progress does not need to be dramatic to be real. Some growth happens quietly, like a seed growing underground before anyone can see the tree. And this lesson matters far beyond English. Modern life constantly pushes people to move faster. Faster success. Faster results. faster improvement. But deep growth usually takes time. Language learning is no different. The brain needs repetition, exposure, and emotional calm to build strong listening ability. This is why many learners suddenly improve after months of slow practice. Not because of talent, but because they continued long enough for the process to work. Slow listening also helps learners enjoy English again. Instead of treating English like a stressful school subject, they begin experiencing it as communication, stories, ideas, human emotion. And when learning becomes meaningful, motivation lasts longer, because people continue what feels emotionally rewarding. Eventually, English stops feeling like a wall separating you from the world. It becomes a bridge to conversations, to opportunities, to new friendships, to a larger life. And often, that transformation begins with one simple habit: slowing down enough to truly listen. Part 5. The day English starts. Feeling natural. For many learners, there comes a quiet moment that changes everything. Maybe you are walking outside with headphones. Maybe you are listening before sleep. And suddenly, you understand a full English sentence naturally. No translation, no panic. The meaning simply arrives. That moment feels small from the outside, but internally, it feels powerful. Because for the first time, English stops feeling completely foreign. And usually, this moment does not come from studying harder for 1 week. It comes from months of calm listening and repeated exposure. This is the hidden truth many people discover too late. Fluency is built through small daily habits, not dramatic breakthroughs. Every listening session teaches your brain something. At first, English feels difficult because your mind treats every word separately. But over time, the brain begins connecting sounds automatically. Instead of hearing individual words, you begin hearing meaning. This is when listening becomes smoother and more natural. And something else changes too. Your fear becomes smaller. In the beginning, many learners panic when they miss one sentence. But experienced learners understand an important truth. You do not need to understand every word perfectly to communicate successfully. Even native speakers sometimes misunderstand each other. Real communication is flexible, and slow listening teaches flexibility. You learn to stay calm even during confusion. You trust context. You recognize familiar patterns. You continue listening without fear. This emotional calm is a major part of fluency, because listening is not only about vocabulary, it is also about remaining relaxed enough to process information clearly. Over time, English slowly becomes part of your daily life. You recognize common phrases automatically. You understand simple conversations more easily. You think in English sometimes without trying. This transformation happens gradually. And perhaps this is the most encouraging truth of all. You do not need extraordinary talent to improve your listening. Most successful learners are simply consistent. They continue listening even when progress feels slow. And consistency changes the brain. The more understandable English you hear, the more natural the language becomes. Not overnight, but inevitably. So if your listening still feels difficult today, do not lose hope too quickly. Slow progress is still progress. Every calm listening session matters. Every repeated sentence matters. And one day you may realize something surprising. The English that once felt impossible now feels familiar. If you are still struggling with English listening today, remember this. You are not failing because you learn slowly. You are improving every time you continue listening. Real fluency is not built through stress, fear, or perfection. It is built through patience, repetition, and calm exposure over time. So stop comparing yourself to other learners. Stop believing you must understand everything immediately. Language learning is a journey. Some days will feel easy, some days will feel frustrating, but every small step still moves you forward. And sometimes, slowing down is exactly what helps you finally understand faster. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I truly hope this video helped you feel more relaxed, more confident, and more motivated on your English journey. And if you enjoy this calm style of slow English listening, consider subscribing to the channel for more meaningful stories and real-life English practice. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep listening, one sentence at a time.